Welcome everybody back to my channel. I'm joined today by two lovely ladies, and this is a really great topic that we're going to get into today, so I'm really excited about it. But I want to introduce Ileana the Star Traveler and Jenny Lee. Now, Ileana and I have done a bunch of shows. It's been a while, but we've been on these roundtables together for a few times now. And I'm just learning a little bit about Jenny Lee and her work. I've seen her on a few shows, and so I'm really excited to have both of you on my channel today so we can have a nice discussion on the divine feminine and how it's rising on the planet right now and what that means for the collective. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves first and let everyone know watching a little bit about your work? Ileana, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ileana, the Star Traveler. I'm a psychic, I'm a healer, and I'm a spiritual teacher and remote viewer. And I have been doing a lot of work healing the plants because here in British Columbia, we've had some acid rain mixing in with the normal rain. So I've just been balancing the trees and the plants because I've noticed some bushes and trees have like yellow aspects of them. So I've been clearing that acid rain from the ionosphere, atmosphere, and from the ground itself, from the dirt and from the plants, extracting the acid rain, the particulates of the acid from the plants, because we're being upgraded. Like everything in this 3D reality is upgrading to a higher frequency. So part of cleansing the planet, part of helping the plants, the water, purifying the water is part of what I've been doing. So that's my latest project with cleaning the water, like the air and the water.
Well, that's actually really important right now. And I think that's necessary. I think that the plants are speaking to us, and a lot more people are tuning in to the language that I call it Gaia's light language, because the plants talk to us, the trees, the birds, they all have a harmony. And when you combine it together, it's a form of light language and it's healing. And so I think that they too need healing that we can help them with. It's a very symbiotic relationship. So that's really, really great that you're doing that. Jenny Lee, welcome to my channel. Can you tell everyone a little about your work?
Well, to wrap it up in one word, I'm a seer. So I see through things in a very layered on everything. So I'm an international remote viewer, a medium, but that's the main thing that I can perceive through things. So I work with artifacts a lot on projects for that, and then I do missing cases a lot. And when I do with missing cases, I actually draw the actual suspects, and I've had cases prosecuted with those drawings. And then, so basically, I like documentation that follows the verification. Ileana will tell you about that. It's all about documenting it. So I think it falls in, that format of really trusting spirit to the very T of it, giving them all your energy and all your strength and all your trust. And when you do that, it's amazing what they'll show you. But it's funny that Ileana started with that nature thing because they've been telling me, they're like, you start listening to the lightest plants, to everything. There's a sound and a vibration coming from them. And I can't tell you, I've been doing, like today, new pots in the house and pots outside and planting. I've never wanted to do as much as I want to now. So it's just like a calling that's surfacing in the energy, So I think it's great that it feels that whole energy, that whole Gaia process is calling to us, to that energy. So yeah, I mean, I love the work I do, even though we have long hours and we maybe have one day off a week, but it's what we're supposed to do. It's what we are here to do and what we were born to do, and staying on that path of what spirit needs us to do until this is completed on this planet. So yes.
Yeah, and what you said, Jenny, right now just reminded me of something that I was told through a few of my sessions, because I do different work, and a lot of the stuff that I get, the information I have, is through the sessions that I do. And so I learned, you know, some random tidbits of information about things that I didn't really seek out, but it's just they end up being really helpful. And one of the things that the plants told me recently is that our house plants actually, just like animals and our pets, will absorb our negative energy, and they will work to help heal us in many different ways. And sometimes they die as a result of it. And we shouldn't always, because I would inadvertently and not on purpose, of course, I couldn't keep plants alive a long time ago, and they would be in my office. And I'm like, what am I killing the plants like? And what am I doing wrong? And finally, they told me, pulling in all the negative energy from you and you that's around you and your clients, and we're making sure to balance the energy. And so they would die, but then sometimes they would be resurrected, and they would call, because you know plants will come back to life. And I just thought that's such a beautiful way for them to help us. And I've seen that through other sessions where I've been told that the plants want to be in our children's rooms and in our homes, so that they can help us balance the energy and absorb our junk, energetic garbage, essentially, so that we may remain balanced and healed. And it's a really interesting relationship that I never took it to that level until recently. What do you guys, have you heard that before?
Well, yeah, for me, like the plants have never died. The plants have always been luscious and vibrant, but all my plants I've had to put up on high shelves or on top of bookcases, because my cat will eat anything. She likes the aloe vera plants. So I have to keep her out of the plants, because some plants for cats are a little bit acidic to eat, and so it's not healthy. But other plants are very healing for cats, and they help with their digestion. So my plants always get watered. Like, I will come and I will touch the plant, the leaves. I never touch the flower itself because it's delicate, but I touch the leaves, and I ask it, what do you need? Do you need more water? Do you need more pH balance? Do you need a little bit more dirt or less dirt? How would you like to be watered or planted? Do you need a deeper pot for your roots? So I constantly check in with them. Do you need more sunlight, less sunlight? What kind of temperature do you need? I know it sounds like I'm talking to a human, but plants have a sentience. And I get back information, a little less water, a little bit more. I need more sunlight, less sunlight. I need to be higher up top or lower. And then the frequency of the plant communicates its needs, what it needs to thrive and live, successfully grow. So I've never had anything die. The energy of my house, I make sure it's all purified. Like, every day I do the cleansing and the purification. So I have not had a plant die, unless my cat attacked it, and then sometimes went a little bye-bye or was a bit droopy. But I learned to put the plants away from the cat, so it's out of her reach, because I don't want the animal suffering if they accidentally eat something they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning of spring, Spirit was telling me, you know, strawberries, apples, they were saying fruit, and I keep pushing people, go do gardening, because they're telling me the air quality and everything's changing. They're shifting things around, and you're going to see tomatoes and everything bigger. And I live right in the middle of fields of farmers, and I'm seeing it already. You know, people are like, the tomatoes are getting big and all this stuff, and it's just like, it's flourishing. And then I notice I have all kinds of trees, plum trees, raspberry trees, all that stuff. And it's, every one is blossoming. It's just like, and I had trees that have not blossomed in 10 years. So it kind of verifies that information about everything going really green this summer. So, you know, so I feel it has a tone with it too, with plants. There's a tone of vibration that comes with it. And you bring and send that out too. And you can feel it because there's own language with nature. And you can hear it, and it's like a wave. I tell people it's the same, the sound, you're in the volume of it, and you hear it in that tone if you're quiet enough in the mind. And there's emotion with it too, you feel it. So it's great right now. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the concept or the discussion that we want to have today is this rise of the divine feminine, because I think that's an overarching theme of the ascension right now, and never to put the masculine energy down, but as we know, the masculine energy has been on quite a surge and on a high, and we've had disbalance on this planet for quite some time as a result of that, with this power struggle, the ego, that we have been in this undertone, really overtone, if you think about it. And so the divine feminine energy is coming back, and I've talked about that in several of my books, and I know you guys talk about that as well. And so I think this is a great starter point today. So perhaps we can go around and talk about what that means to each one of us, and how it's relaying in the work that we're doing and what we're seeing, kind of how we're seeing evidence of that. So Ileana, do you want to start with that?
Sure. For me, the divine feminine has been listening to the land, listening to the plants, listening to the atmosphere, the water, and just paying attention where the healing can come, like to heal the water, to heal the air, so that that acid is out from the rain. And it's not in just one area, it's like the whole planet. And doing water healing, sending good vibration, I know a really good psychic, her name is Patricia Mona. She's like, just put your best energy forward into the water to clean the frequency of the water, to clean pollution from the water, to connect to the ancestors of the water, to cleanse the water. So I usually just send out to the ocean pure vibration and remove anything that is imbalanced in the water. So I've been connecting to the feminine aspect of Gaia herself, the planet, the land, the water, the air, and also just being in my true feminine aspect, to trust myself and my ability to really see who the genuine feminine peoples are that are in our circles, and to work with those guided that are putting out a good vibration and putting out good messages. Just in being in their true genuine state, because a lot right now is going on where there's stuff happening in communities, and I'm just trying to follow a good path of vibration to stay in the true divine self of the life purpose, and to not let anything outside, like trends, fads, not let anything influence who I am and the work that I do, just to be in the genuine feminine aspect, what I'm called to and what's truth for me, just to do divine spiritual teaching and divine balance between feminine and masculine, so things are not out of balance. So that's what I've been led to explore, and just stay on the true path, not be led down corners or something, somebody said this, somebody said that. No, to just be true to my work and follow a good path of divine energy to stay on track.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Jenny, how about you?
So you know what's funny, because I see spirits on the other side and how they approach me. And when I started working with my program called Humble Healing, they showed me, Jen, the bark of the tree is the united seed of this planet. And they showed me it's at the bottom of our planet. And then they showed me the fountain of youth around that. And then I saw a fountain of youth around that. And then I saw Gaia. And it was really cool, because I saw the bark of it, and it was on her neck, and just flowers growing. I have pictures of it somewhere, and I'll show you later, but it's got pictures of her, you know. And so when they say that she's literally one of nature, she is, because they literally show me. There's such a nutrient in the bark, you know what I'm saying? And they're saying that one tree roots everything that grows on this planet. It's all connected. Every tree is connected in every way. And so, I look at it, everything is connected in that environment, and everything in nature is touched by each other. And so when you feed that energy, it blossoms back at you. You know what I'm saying? And so, so with her, it's about, I think, this level of colors and things that are changing because I see it in a 4D and 5D, those colors are completely different. you know, we have to get people prepared for how that really looks on that side, and how this planet is going to change in the richness of it. So, you know, I think it's just amazing how nature is just evolving in a different way. And it has a way, even when you damage it, it has a way of rejuvenating itself on its own.
And I have a picture actually of what Jenny is referring to, because I had found one as well. Can I show you guys?
Yes, please.
That's
See
awesome.
like the roots, those roots,
Yeah.
what Jenny was saying, yeah, and the
Wow.
leaves. And there's a tear coming out of her eyes, because it's like, it's Gaia. It's literally Gaia protecting
Right.
the earth. So it's like rise of the feminine and upgrades to Gaia itself. So this picture always has meant a lot to me, because it is the feminine. It defines the feminine energy, I think. What does it share with you ladies?
You know, the biggest thing is I see the bark is the nutrient. And that's what keeps the trees alive. And that's what's the biggest. She says the most important thing is the nutrient of the bark of the tree. That's how everything blossoms. And that's what I always remember when I see something coming from the ground. And so without that nutrient, nothing can grow. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You want to hear something crazy, ladies? So when I was making the thumbnail for our discussion today, this was the picture that I was going to use. And the only reason I didn't is because it was so beautiful. There was no way I could put everything in without covering her face and the beauty of the picture. And I was like, I don't want to use this because it's just such a waste. It's just so funny that this is the picture you're showing me right now, because this is the one that I wanted to use. And, you know, I feel like with the collective, I believe that that for many reasons, they have pushed women against each other for many generations. And I believe in this picture, it depicts that throat chakra and the healing and our ability to speak our mind and empower us. So in that picture, you see the roots of the throat, and it's like women getting their voice back, but not in a way that's overbearing or toxic. It's very beautiful. It's a beautiful energy. And we have been pinned against each other, which is why I love these roundtables when the women can get together, because previously, you know, us women have been placed in positions where we are like encouraged to compete, and we can only have one star. And I think there's a lot of elements of our society that is designed in such a way that women feel insecure around other women, and we, instead of building each other up, we critique each other, and there can't be two dominant independent women. You guys you know what I'm saying? And that is changing, and I think that we are now coming together. When women come together, it's very powerful.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I try to work women with who I have a calling with and resonate with, like, because it's also vibrational. It's vibration who you resonate with, and you work with the women, beautiful women who you resonate with. And men can work with men too, and women, it can be a balance. It's like, what is in the soul aspect that resonates so beautifully together? Because I think we all are earth healers. We do a lot of earth healing. We do a lot of soul healing. We are healers, all three of us. And that's something we have in common that really resonates beautifully here.
It does.
It
Well,
does.
that's kind of how I met Ileana too. I saw her on a show, and Spirit's like, you gotta call her, gotta get in contact with her, because there's just a vibration. And it was through James Rink. I said I just got to talk to her because they're chattering in my mind, and then we ended up meeting, you know, and that was the way it works sometimes. And I'm like, sometimes you're like, how? I mean, what do you want me to do? You know, and they just put you in a situation, and you still do it. You find a way. They work with it, you know. So it's cool.
Because we remote viewed Atlantis together, and the beautiful energy. Atlantis was beautiful. I think it was so part of the earth and the crystals and everything. So I think that energy is coming back, but not in the epochs that didn't work, but in something that will work better, that will reconnect to nature. That aspect of Atlantis not anything that did not serve the purpose, but because Atlantis is remembered for the good and not so good, but the good is coming back, those energies.
Right. It's good.
I resonate with
Great.
that a lot, and I work a lot with Lemurian energy because I believe I had a dominant life in Lemurian period, and I think that that's also coming up. And I tend to attract the Lemurians. I would say a good 70% or so of my clients are Lemuria or have had a lifetime within Lemuria. Less at Atlantis, and I don't connect personally as much to Atlantis. But I do agree that there's so much more good, and we tend to focus on the downfall of Atlantis, which is very significant. But right now, I believe that a lot of what we're doing and the ascension that we're going through is we're affecting change positively, and it's having a ripple effect, because that's not actually the past. As we know, these are parallel timelines, so they're concurrently happening. So when we ascend, we work on our ascension here, and we raise the consciousness and the vibration. It is positively affecting those timelines as well as now as we speak, and vice versa. So it's really cool to see the connections with everybody as well.
Exactly. Like the divine feminine is remembering who we are, who we were and who we are, and our ability to help the planet to just raise its vibration, to just as it helps us to raise ours, we help it to raise its vibration, and everything alive and beautiful just gets balanced in its own unique way.
It does.
Absolutely.
It
And one
does.
of the things that we spoke about before we started recording was the upgrades that we see that Gaia is revealing to us. So Jenny, do you want to go into some of the things that you're seeing as far as Gaia upgrades that we talked about a little bit before we started recording?
Well, the funniest thing about it was I was working on a client, and then before I had to go on Instagram Live, I was going to do something, and they're like, no, now. And they were presenting, they're like, you have to talk about Sophia energy, the Gaia energy, it has to be presented now. And when they're like, now, it's like, okay, you know. So I presented that, and then I did a healing. And she goes, I was doing the healing with her, and she goes, I just feel like there was 500 people walking by me. And I go, there was, because they're here, they're involved in what's going on, and these doors are open now, these energies are here to help the whole process. People think that it's just about, that we're witnessing this, and it's the whole universe is watching everything, and they're all wanting a part of it. And like Nefertiti's, Gaia, I mean, there's a lot of them from our past, the strong females that I channel all the time and get information from them. And they're talking about, we're here, and each one is like a fine chess piece that was an important part to be associated with this whole situation. And now that collective says, some of the energy has been passed on, but they said there are, a couple of them that are in the body of the flesh here. And they're saying that this energy of 7 has to come together as a collective. And see, on the other side, everything works as oneness. It's not an ego. It doesn't work without the other energy. It works as one together. And that's the difference, is it's like putting each other's hand together, and it doesn't work without it. And so now that energy source of that female essence is showing, and they show me what it brings is this different love that humans don't know. And that love is connected to everything. It's instant love for everything. And they said it's going to be like a fog that is presented on Earth, and it changes, but the negative cannot breathe or survive in it. So they've been focused, and I'm doing drawings on this stuff and everything. So, and that's the next phase they're showing me. It's going to change. It's going to come, because everything's in place for this. And that is something the negative does not want to happen.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, that was beautiful. Ileana, what do you think?
And also working with inner selves, inner healing, inner wisdom. and outer healing as well, because that reflects the inner healing process. And also, it's good to look at the stars. It's good to connect with our galactic families and star ancestry. But what I've noticed changing is like people are depending on the galactic federations to come and rescue us. It's all over the place. They're going to come, they're going to sweep everything, they're just going to upgrade. But it's within us to upgrade. We are the ascension process. It's not depending on some federation or council to come and rescue us. Some of us are born on councils. We come from councils or star seed connections. We come from those galactic ancestries. We come from that and we're part of that, but we're not dependent on any specific council that we have to be members of as a unit on Earth or a federation, because they're out there and they're doing their own stuff to protect the galaxy, but we're here doing our work. We're the boots on the ground. We're the light crew on the ground doing the work, doing the healing work. So it's up to us to continue that, not to depend on these different federations or councils to do it for us.
I could talk for hours about what you just said. I totally agree with you, Ileana. I think the narrative that is being displayed right now or portrayed is that we as a collective need to be rescued. And again, like that's the wrong direction that we need to go. That's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. And I think a big part of the ascension is us figuring that out for once. And when people focus too much on these councils or this or that, this federation, and because there are many abbreviations of it, we get lost and we forget that we're trying to regain our sovereignty, and we have the answers and we can heal and we can connect. And some of these are becoming too much like a cult, in the sense that if you don't recognize the power within this particular federation or council, you get attacked by it, and it's dividing, it's causing more division within the community that's supposed to be uniting. And I don't understand how people aren't recognizing that it's causing more chaos than necessary, and it's the wrong tone. And so I agree completely with what you said. Now, do I believe that there are councils and federations? Yes, of course. And I think there are a lot more than we even are aware of. And I think it has to do independently with each one of our souls and soul groups and who we connect with, because there are so many different galactic species here, too numerous to count. And then we also forget about the interterrestrials and the interdimensional beings on this planet. And I mean, it's so far beyond our perception as human brains can even perceive, I believe. Like it's very complicated. But at the end of the day, we are receiving help. But all the guidance that I've received in any session of any being that I've ever communicated with is, we're here to assist you, but you have to do the work. You have to believe in yourself. You have to help us so that we can all help one another. And so I think that is such a powerful point to make, Ileana. And I say it as many ways as I can, as often as I can. And I think this is an important part of the discussion today. Jenny, do you agree with that, or do you have anything else you want to add?
Oh boy, do I ever. I did a 2-year investigation on the so-called those councils, and Spirit goes, non-existent. That is not the name we would use. Those are not the frequencies we would use. And they said, before you were even seated on this earth, those memories of those councils are the keys inside you. So those were already done before you even started the journey. Your memory of that will come back. It is not chosen at your present time. It was chosen a long time ago. And so that, they said, is a complete illusion. They are bringing a propaganda, because if it was true, it would have been seen a long time ago. And it has just been created in the last 5 years. So then and the way I did this is like, I challenged them in the way of seeing through things. It's like, okay, and deny, won't do it, can't see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, where's the proof? Where's the documentation? They couldn't come up with it. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, so at that point, with spirit, they give you lessons, a path to discover things. And I got to a point, I'm like, yeah, this is a false narrative. And so, and you know, the ones that do the work daily and they've been doing this daily, they don't have that much time. They can't be on YouTube every day. You know that too, you know? And so they have to do, we're tired, we're exhausted, we're wore out, you know, it's just, it's a path that spirit puts on you since the time you were seated here, and you keep going and you keep going. And that's the thing, that is the agenda that is the most important. And when you're in front of other beings like us and you just know it, and there's a difference of making stuff up that does not exist. And I tell people, they know you here and they know you there. So whatever you speak is going to be seen in the light. So you will be called on the false information and held accountable for that. It's important. It's very important. So that narrative, I've talked to tons of people on it, and the ones that are so-called working in it, and it ended up in a dead-end road. And then especially the ones that are still walking in the flesh, using alcoholism and drugs and thinking they're a part of it. And that's the first thing. They're like, no flesh needs. We would not give people in that type of control or that kind of seat of power, and they would be tested time and time again. They would not need alcohol. They would not need drugs. They would not need no substance to hold that. They would not need money in the way that humans see it. You look at it in the balanced way of being content, and that is what spirit provides. When you really believe them, they provide everything you need.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, messages, I predict this, I predict that through channeling, this will happen. And when it doesn't happen, it's like dates are not linear on this planet. Things change, the future changes constantly. So people ask me, well, you're very good at channeling. Why don't you channel more? Why don't you just like publicly channel? I don't feel the need to channel Source Creator or something every day on YouTube. It is something I find sacred, the connection of the universal energy and Source Creator or Prime Creator, the creation energy. It's everything that is being created to help us and guide us. I don't think that needs to be channeled every day. There's wisdom messages that come through, but it doesn't need to be every day. So there is a special, unique connection, and it's sacred. And I value that sacredness. Sometimes when the messages, special ones come, I might share that publicly, but I don't channel every day.
Yeah, and again, that's an important point, because I think people get so hung up on giving their power away from one person to another. And if you're channeling every day, for example, people are dependent on that. They're not going within because they're like, oh, what's Ileana going to say today? You know, what's Jenny going to say today? And that takes the power away from the person. And again, that's the exact opposite of the direction that we are headed. And at least we're trying to go in a direction where we understand that we have all the answers that we need if we can connect to our higher consciousness on our own without going through someone else. And I believe the most humble people are the greatest leaders. And you can see that in this era right now of likes and popularity and subscribers, it overcomes some people with the popularity and the power. And those are the people I'm the most weary about. You know, like, they're not humble. They come from ego and they care so much about what everybody else thinks. You know, those are the people that I actually fear the most, because they're the most vulnerable to manipulation and entity attachments. And those are the ones that sometimes give off the most detrimental information to the collective, especially dates and things like that, because we are co-creating, all of us. That's what makes us so multidimensional and such an incredible group, is that we are co-creators. We have the ability to co-create. So if somebody is puppeteering this show and encourages a large amount of people to focus their energy on something good, bad, dates, that, this or that, it bypasses our ability to co-create something that might be better, something that is unknown to us. So that's the key to manifestation is, you know, sometimes you just have gratitude that something better is coming, but we don't always know what it is because it could be way better than we designed it to be because our perception limits us. You know, our mindset can truly challenge everything. And so we just, I think this is part of the discernment. This is part of the ascension, is everybody trying to truly find themselves and how comfortable they are in unraveling that version of themselves and trusting their own intuition as opposed to depending on someone else. And it's hard. And you know, I've struggled with that personally. I think everybody has, but ultimately you get to a point, I think Jenny said, or maybe you, Ileana, where you just surrender and you trust in your divine guidance. And I think that's the true struggle right now is people finding that trust and trusting it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the biggest thing was source, because that's my main source is source. And he says, no prophets, no preachers, no religion. There's just this level of energy with him. And he says, I'm going to be connected to my people now. Nobody's going to be in the way. And the energy is here. And it's not something you have to buy. It's something that you just have to tap into and decide that you're ready for it. And people are not at the point now, they're like, I want to see it for myself. I know you describe it, I know you see it, but I want to see it for myself. And they seek that now. And Ileana teaches that, and so do I. It's like, and we teach independence. We don't teach codependency. We teach, here's the door. If you want to run through the door and see it, run through it. But open your mind to accepting it for what it is and accept it for its look the way it is. You got to be ready for it looking completely different from what you have been programmed that everybody's told you. It's really saying, okay, I want to view it. I want to see it for what it really is. And my soul is ready to accept that view. That's what changes, of looking something clearly through it and accepting for what it is. And I think that's why people see Jesus a different way and God's a different way. It's because it's their veil of understanding. It's going to show you at your limited veil of understanding. If you have a veil that you're really expressive and you'll accept it, it's going to show you its original form. But it's going to show you what they feel you can accept, and you won't be in a fear process.
Yeah, I mean, you only receive what you can handle at any given time. And I think that was my biggest lesson when I was going through my spiritual awakening process is I got so excited and I would always ask my guides, more, I want more. And I would literally get mad like a toddler when they wouldn't tell me. They said, you're not ready for that yet. And I'm like, well, how do you know what I'm ready for it? You know, and I had this little attitude about it. And that's exactly why I wasn't ready. And so I had to go through my own dark night of the soul multiple times before I accepted and understood why. And because oftentimes we go through this recollection process where we have hindsight and we're like, gosh, I get it now. There's no way I was ready back then to hear this or that. So it is a process and it's different for everybody. And that's why we need to take judgment out of it, because we can't judge how far along each one of us are on our ascension path, because we don't know the factors. We don't know what happens in anyone's life unless they're willing to show us. And that's the other thing about YouTube is people will give a facade of what they want people to see, but nobody knows what people are doing in their lives when there's no camera on them, and what kind of a person they are, and are they actually a kind person, and do they actually practice what they preach? Nobody knows that for sure. And so there's a lot of misconceptions going around, and so that's why it's much more beneficial to focus on yourself and what you're doing and stop looking at what everyone else is doing, because I guarantee you it's not as pretty painted as you think it is.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of tired nights and repeated programs saying, or spirit saying, do it. And you're like, no, I don't want to do it. Yeah, there's many of us that have been in that situation, Ileana, and I mean, we just kind of sit back, go, I don't want to do it. You know, and then you know you're going to do it, but they know you're going to do it too, but you pick your time when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it spontaneously comes, ready or not, here it is. It's like you need to disclose something big because something is happening. for example, I've been doing a remote viewing project on Antarctica, and there's a lot of secret programs happening there connected to off-world that needs cleaning, secret projects from the 1950s. And I presented the findings of this remote viewing, and somebody said, well, you took my work. And I said, I didn't take your work, I did my own work and my own research like this. And they said, well, I don't believe you. So there's judgment and assumption. And I'm like, well, I didn't take your work. I haven't followed your work. I don't know what you're doing. And they're like, I don't believe you. I think you took my work. I'm like, I didn't. So I blocked that person because they love to be argumentative. They're in an ego state and they think that I took something that they exclusively believe is theirs, which it isn't. What's happening in that huge continent has been happening for a very long time, and there's technologies, energy technology involved that's been hurting people in the wrong way energetically, and it needs to stop. That's what was shown through multiple different ways in the remote viewing. And I think it upset this person who passionately believes that this is part of disclosure, but they're not the only one disclosing it. This information comes in many different formats. It comes out in the way it's supposed to. And I said to them, you do your own thing, I'm going to do my own thing, and I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I know my truth, I know the work that came out, and that's it. I revealed the work and it's done. It's out in the public for people to interpret however it's meant to for them. It's out. The information, the disclosure is out.
Right. And there's some uncomfortable things they put in front of us. And, you know, Ileana, I did a thing on Antarctica and they were showing me this red ruby lake. And this is something I'm like with spirit going, what? You know, this isn't, you know, you think in yourself, this ain't gonna, but at the end of it, it was right, and the location was right, and the everything was labeled, and you know, it just shows you a lesson. You're like, see, you should have just trusted us. Even though how it sounds or how it comes out, we're still going to lead you to the truth. So it's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes we resist because we get too much in the left brain about it, as I've been guilty of that, and I have been there where I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And I resist, and then it comes back and smacks me in the face. And I'm like, okay, you guys, I get it. All right. And now I laugh. I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm like, I trust, you know, but we're so trained though, as human beings in the indoctrination campsite called school for children, that we are so trained to memorize and left brain, everything's left brain with such little creativity that we lose that part of ourself that we trust in our intuition, and that's on purpose. That's, you know, that's by design. But, you know, Ileana, you bring up a really important point because it's all about collaboration, and I don't believe in competition. People get really mad at me and they get real worked up about it. And, you know, maybe Ileana is meant to uncover this, and maybe that other person is too, and maybe 5,000 other people are, because it's something that needs to come out. I mean, how ridiculous would it be if I got mad at anybody trying to create educational platform like mine, and I took ownership over that? How would that be beneficial to the collective? Now, of course, if someone was stealing my Aramis material verbatim and claiming it as their own, you know, that's a different story. But we're all co-creating a better reality and disclosure. Some of we uncover it's a little bit heavier, some of it's lighter. But the point is that we come in here, and more than one person needs to help with this. This is a collective effort. And so you're right, that person is coming from ego, low self-esteem, and low sense of self-worth. Because I think there's a lot of people right now trying to get on the bandwagon of being something and creating a name for themselves. And if they can't figure out what that is, they try to take it from somebody else, and it's unauthentic. And I think people are starting to recognize those that are authentic and those that aren't. I think people are starting to catch on. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think it's becoming a little bit more obvious to people. How do you guys feel?
I feel that way. And I described like when this whole Trump situation happened, you know, everybody jumped on that bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? There was a big circle, and me and Ileana have talked about this, and now we're down to this. truth seekers, the true ones, are only about this size now, you know, as in it's not that big anymore. And so people are figured that out on their own instinct. And I tell them, if it doesn't sound good in the first 2 minutes, it's not going to sound good through the whole process, because your gut instinct is telling you, don't listen. And then they get upset through the whole thing. And I say, you should have listened to your gut immediately, because you know this information and it didn't do you any good to listen to it over and over. But I also, you notice that everybody is, they're trading media information like, oh, you got some, you know, just so they have enough to spin their program. You know what I'm saying? And the ones that are original, you know, that are doing the work and are getting the information from source, we don't worry about that, because we don't know what we're going to get daily. We don't know what we're supposed to do in a week sometimes, because it just comes. You know, we don't have to worry about it. It's like I tell people when I do interviews, like, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens through it. Let's see what they throw at us. We don't have to plan. We just have to let it go naturally and flow. You don't have to remember the truth, because the truth flows. You have to remember the lies.
So true. So true. People have to prepare and rehearse the lies, but truth just flows so naturally and harmoniously. And we talked about that before we recorded. We're like, what do you guys want to talk about today? We're like, I don't know. We'll just, you know, we'll see what comes. And I think this conversation, personally, I think, it's my opinion, it's been quite beautiful and organic, and it just flows in the directions that it has just naturally gravitated to throughout this conversation so far. So I agree with that very much, Jenny.
Yeah.
And I find it so interesting studying people. It's like that person who said, you took my work, you took 3 years of my entire work. I had no idea what their work was. I wasn't following them. But my remote viewing, it collaborated what their work is, because I have a search engine that I created, a little search engine looking for disclosure, and it searched up the topic that was part of my remote viewing, and it found that person's video with somebody else who's quite famous in disclosure, and it covers the same things that my remote viewing covers. So it collaborates the truth. It just collaborates the truth in its own proper timing, because I was curious. This person never told me what their work was. I had no idea. So, but I did find it. And I'm like, wow, that's great information. Keep disclosing your information, because it's good. Just don't go claiming to take somebody else's hard work. That you be on your own journey of discovery, curiosity. Do the work, explore yourself. That open door opens and you see connections and interconnections, and play well with others, collaborate, play well. Don't just say, you took something from me, it's just mine, mine, mine. It's like being in kindergarten. That's my toy truck, not yours. You can't have it. It's mine. I created that. But that toy truck is in the sandbox for everybody to play with. It's not just for you, because there's many different concepts that come with similar information connections. It's not just you, it's that ego. It's not a balance to live in ego.
Yeah, and I think I agree totally, Ileana. And I was laughing a little bit, but I think that's a big part of the rise of the divine feminine, because I believe that the divine feminine brings balance and less ego, and more creative energy, that more inspirational energy, the intuition, trusting your gut, all of that is. And I want to be clear, because I think this confuses people. Maybe you guys can add to this as well. When we say divine feminine and then masculine, people automatically get triggered and they think that we're talking about men versus women. And that's not what we're talking about. Men can have just as much of a feminine side as women can have a masculine side. It's all about balance. And I believe that there was a period in Lemuria and Atlantis and many other places all over the galaxies and inner Earth and etc., where that naturally occurs, where the most spiritual beings are those that are in balance. They have the masculine energy and they also tap into the feminine energy. It has nothing to do with gender necessarily. And so I think that that's a big part of this right now, is the men are being not inspired, they're being encouraged to tap in a little bit more to their creative side and their feminine side. And women, we've been so driven to tap into our masculine side out of survival and competitiveness to go against the men in society. And everyone knows the narrative. And so we're out of balance. So what do you guys feel about that? Do you feel that you're getting the same kind of triggers from people that are argumentative about even what masculine and feminine is right now, what we're talking about?
I think it's a human concept. Because when I channel in higher dimensions, they never talk about sex. They never talk about the male or female because they're a collective of both. And so it's a human concept. It's not the upper levels. They don't worry about it. It's just something that is put into us, that such divide, man and woman, let's divide it so much and then let it conflict across from each other on purpose. It's a program. And so when you go back into these higher dimensions, what I teach, that you don't, that's not what you look at all. You don't even pay attention to any of that. You don't even asking that question. You're just saying, this is great energy. You don't care about that up there. It's just a 3D format that's been programmed that we think it's a concern, and it's not. It's not. Once you get to that veil, you go, doesn't matter. We're both in every way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's getting over that competition. This is mine. That's it. You can't be in this field. You can't share it. And I felt that argumentative male energy, and my feminine energy came in and said, well, it's everybody's right to know that information, whether you disclosed this first or I did. Doesn't matter who did it first. People deserve to know the truth. Just putting the truth out there is what I care about. That's why I did that spontaneous project, so people can know what exists out there and can work on changing that dynamic, bringing that light in, bringing that equality and balance of masculine and feminine. Doesn't matter that that person is male, that I'm female. I will not argue in it with anybody. I will not defend myself that, hey, you're right, I'm wrong, or I'm right, you're wrong. I don't want to be in that field of disbalance. I want to be in harmony and collaboration. And if somebody doesn't want to hear my side of things and they're just assuming and judging, they're not seeing all the perspectives and possibilities of what the universe is trying to show us and teach us. I'll just work with the people that are open-minded and want to know the truth and want to collaborate and experience together. Not be the gatekeepers to the information. Mine, only me. It's not only you, it's all of us together that are part of this journey that we're on.
Yeah. So it brings me to this picture, and Ileana knows what this is. This is Creator showing it. This is a drawing of him. They always wear cloaks, and everything on the cloaks is their path. That's why they'll sometimes expose you with cloaks and sometimes they'll hide themselves with cloaks, because they need, at that point, they know whether your veil can handle it or not. But this is his, and it shows the root of the planet is a tree. And then leading us into the light, and then 3 pyramids. We've always created energy and frequency, and then the 7 stars, which go into the original sun, which goes into the connection that we're all connected to him through the pineal gland and the diamond. You know, it's in it. It resides in us. So he shows us that we are going to this new energy, this new frequency, and he's leading us into it. You know, he's the original energy, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the thing, is we're all following our instinct more, that energy more. We're listening to it stronger. And you see it daily. People are waking up and they're literally dropping religion. They are leading by the dozens. And then we're gonna go back to that spiritual language again, you know, of the knowing without saying anything vocally, and hearing it here and feeling it here and knowing the frequency here, you know. It's coming online, you know, and that's the best thing that I'm seeing. People are asking the right questions now. They're not in fear about asking these questions now. They want to know. And that shows you we have done our job. We are getting them awake. And Creator says, I need to get as many as I can aligned and ready to ascend up. And that's what he wants. Just get them going. And that's where we should be doing right now, is getting them ready for that. You know, and that's what he was saying, is just we have to get prepared for us to change. We are not taking our physical bodies with us. This is a 3D situation with this flesh. We're going and transcending into a new vessel. We're not taking it. And I know you're hearing people that are saying, you're going to, why would we take the same body with us? I don't think anybody wants it. You know what I'm saying? And as you see it in the higher dimensions, you don't see it like that. You don't see them, and they're really not into how they look. They're into just the energy frequency that vibrates out of them. That's it's a collective. Literally the oneness of the collection of the energy. That's where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that our bodies are going through upgrades, so we're less carbon-based, more crystalline, so that we can remain in this human form, you know, so that we don't ascend out of here and all lose our bodies, because I think there's a good percentage of us that are staying here on purpose. I think this is the first collective experience that we've had where we can ascend without dying first, you know, because religion teaches us that in order to ascend, we must die. And then we die, we ascend after death. And that's not the case in our reality right now, but our bodies need to go through an upgrade, because we are third density bodies, and we need to upgrade into the fourth and fifth density bodies and beyond that, which look different and feel different than we are right now, because they'll be much more light and less dense, literally dense, than we are right now. So there's a lot of changes that are going on, and I think it's exciting, but also scary and confusing to other people who don't understand it. You know, religion is an anchor, and is designed that way to keep people paralyzed. And it also is used as a peg to push people against each other. And I happen to live in a state that I wasn't really prepared for this. When I moved from Maryland, DC metropolitan area to Florida, I moved because I needed to get out of that density, that crazy power, ego, you know, mentality. Not to mention half of them are asleep, and they're quite, you know, quite plugged into the matrix. Let's just say that. So I come here and it's much different, but everybody is connected to religion here. So it's really difficult for myself and my children, because everybody around us looks at us like, what's wrong with you? Well, why don't you go to church? And, you know, my children have been told that they can't play with us, some children, because we don't go to church. So that's like, this is a whole other level of things that we're dealing with over here. But I do see the change, and we are starting to gravitate and find people that are more like-minded. But I think that's the last leg of this journey, is the religion component, because I don't necessarily think spirituality in combination with a form of religion, which is really just about unity and oneness and not the power struggle, you know, where we put some God on a pedestal and we're beneath them. If we can kind of take the elements, positive elements out of the religion that was taken out, and it's not about control, and we combine the spiritual element, people would find that much more attractive, I believe. But they're so focused on that because they're programmed to only accept that version of the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
And here where I live, it's about free will choice. Nobody asks you if you're going to church today or tomorrow or not. If you want to go, you can go. If you don't want to go, you are free to go to meditate and do Tai Chi or sit at the beach and relax and take in some beautiful sun. It's like, there's so many beautiful things to do where I am, or what you want to experience. People are like, well, you don't have to just follow whatever the narrative is. People are just free to to be in community or to be in self, to connect or not connect. And nobody in my neighborhood, nobody asks questions. It's like, what are you doing on this weekend? Where are you going? You're going wherever you're going. You're going camping. You're going to the beach. You're going to meet up with friends to have a chat. It's like people are just doing their own thing and enjoying it. They're not saying you have to do this or you have to do that. These communities are just like, you are who you want to be. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, you're free to be you.
Right.
I love that.
Awesome.
You would do what you want as long as you don't hurt anyone else. It shouldn't really matter. I love that. Yeah.
I had a situation in religion when I was young. I was raised Quaker, and oh my gosh, talk about programming. And so when I say I see things truly, so I was in a church and I saw a preacher and I saw an image of his girlfriend and his wife, and I'm like, girlfriend. And my mom's like, stop. And I'm like, no, that's his girlfriend. And she got to a point where she just stopped bringing me to church. It just got, and then when my grandmother's second husband, she took him to hospital, I go, he died. And before she even said anything, it was because there's a trueness with that blunt information, you know what I'm saying? But it's true. It's not we're trying to hurt somebody. We're just being honest of what's coming. But it makes people feel uncomfortable because you have a choice with spiritual information. You either say it, speak it, or get out of the energy because you're not supposed to carry it. So those situations are hard. It's like suffocating you when you're getting something and you're sitting there quietly. It just didn't go with me in any way. I never was a part of it. I was just, nope, I'm not here. So
yeah, any narrative that teaches us that we are sinners from birth and repent and this and that, I was turned off from that as a young child. It's like I knew that wasn't right. There's nothing, so there's a whole level of programming and indoctrination within the whole religious structure in and of itself. It's just, I believe that that's another paradigm that's breaking down, and we're just witnessing it. It's in the period of time that we happen to be alive, and it's quite the show. But Ileana and Jenny, do you want to share with everybody how they can find you, how they can get more information about your work, how they can have sessions with you? Jenny, you want to go first?
Sure. My website is www.jennysssight.net. And so I teach spiritual classes, remote viewing, mediumship, meditation, all kinds of frequency stuff. I am a very raw teacher. I put them in the situation and I blindfold them. And so I let them really sit in it and really trust spirit. And I do readings and mediumship and artifacts, remote viewing, all kinds of that stuff. So I'm just serving spirit in the path that they're putting me in until we exit this planet.
Awesome. Well, I'll put your information in the description below. If anyone feels called to reach out to you or resonates with your work, then they can just click on the link and find you that way. Ileana, what about you?
I'm at Messages from a Star Traveler, and you can type in Messages from a Star Traveler. The website is a bit longer. It'll be in the video description as well. I teach psychic development. I do psychic readings. I do remote viewing as well. I do galactic soul readings to connect with the galactics, your star family, who you are as a soul. I do channeling as well, and I teach remote viewing, and I teach how to connect with the soul consciousness. I'm also a spiritual teacher, and just how to connect with yourself on all the beautiful levels of your reality, and just how to be in balance with yourself and how to ground yourself. Spiritual teachings of meditation, of crystalline, balancing with crystals, working with crystals as well, and how to work with your soul, how to deeply connect with your higher self, your spirit guides, and the soul divine that we are all reconnecting with at this time. And I have a YouTube channel, Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, where I share spirituality, disclosure, and open discussions, just connecting with other beautiful soul beings and talking openly like we are right now.
Yes, you have great content on your channel. And Jenny, you have a channel as well, right?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and I think the one thing that the clients get upset, they have to email me and say, when are you going to do another? And I'm busy, and I just tell them when I got time I can do it. So I just don't have the time to do as much, because you're limited to what you can do. So I am trying to at least do one a month so that I can get it in there. And then I'm on Instagram a lot. I seem to, because my drawings and stuff, I can put it on there and they can interact with it fast. And Patreon is on there too, so it has the dialogue of the pictures, and then they can conversate about it and go into the details of it. So I like a lot of documentation, and so does Ileana on that stuff. So I like that conversation that goes back and forth. And I like to be put in a situation where, okay, I'm trusting spirit all the way, and I'm going to put this dialogue out there, and I want it to match up. I want it to come back and say, okay, this is what happened. So I'm really about the documentation, following all the information. So and then teaching people that too, to watch that, to follow that, to listen to that, to pay attention how accurate that information comes and how it lays out, because that tells you where you're getting the information, where you're getting the source. It's going to be accurate when you're following a pure source of information that is totally about serving man and getting them to evolve. And just like me and Ileana, both of us on both our channels, we don't promote anything, we don't push any products, we just do our work and we give it out to people. People just want the information.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, follow the energy frequency of what the truth is, what the flavor of the truth is. And I'm not afraid to look at the whole truth, whether it's something that is, it could be of a light aspect, it could be something not so light aspect. I don't worry about what people will think of what I'm disclosing, as long as I'm disclosing something that can help others to learn and to be in a better frequency, in a better place, and get beyond what is the paradigm of the normal standard that was programmed into us. Think of what exists outside 3D. The secrets are coming out, old systems are being dismantled, things are changing quickly. It's not the same old, same old. We're getting information constantly coming in, and I just follow the path of the information and I link the dots together. How does this connect? How does this come together? What are we learning? What are we living in? And where are we going? It's like, that is what I usually disclose. And I leave it up for conversations. I leave it open for the conversation. They're seeing the images of what my work was in the remote viewing, what's in the channeling. I don't hide things, open book, as long as you treat each other with respect, kindness, and not go saying you're this, you're that. No accusations, no judgment, no calling each other names. If anybody posts any comments like that, it will not be seen publicly because I don't let it in. I actually do watch what people write to me on my channel. So everything is of a positive nature. Anybody tries to do something not so positive, that just will never be seen on my channel in comments. I try to hold a safe space without judgment and without problems on my channel. So I try my best to foster a positive, open environment where people can communicate and talk to each other, but where if somebody says something negative about the work or about somebody else, that's not coming in. That's out the door. I'm honest about it.
I mean, all our channels did that, right? Because there's some where it's just seemed where they all seem to flock and fight and go at it with each other, and I'm like, what a waste of time.
Right. I forgot one thing that I do a lot. I don't really talk about it a lot, but I actually prepare for people that are in transition. I prepare the family, and I help, and I check in on the other side, and then help them get ready to go. So I do that a lot with the family and the one that is passing on. So, and I turn the experience into something that they are not in hardship over. They're like, this was a great experience of turning it a different direction and making it a loving situation instead of dredge and worry. And so they understand how going into light is a different format. And I do animal communication too. But those things I really in love doing is animal communication and also the transformation into the light.
Yeah,
So
me
important.
too. Yeah, it is. I have people who come to me and ask me, my pet passed on, how are they doing on the other side? My family member, my friend passed on. Can you connect? What are the messages coming in from them? So I also connect in that way. And sometimes people are just, like Jenny said, transitioning, getting ready to pass on, or they're just moving in a different path in their lives. So I do intuitive connection and guiding paths and connecting paths, and also the transitioning, like just guiding people on not being afraid what's on the other side and being empowered to choose what they want to do on the other side, not just thinking, oh, I'll just go into that light and it'll take care of me and it'll fix everything for me. That's not how it works. You get to choose the path that you want to follow in what you choose to experience next. You don't have to go through the cycles of karma and working off your karmic debt. That's an illusion. If you don't want to carry karma, you're not carrying it. You're not responsible for the baggage of previous life karma. Unless you want to work through it in balance and resolve, sure. But you don't have to carry that bag with you when you move on to the next dimensions, densities, realms. There's so many different densities out there. It's not just one planet, one world, one physicality. There's light beings, there's light bodies. You could experience unlimited things. There's no limit to your experience when you transition.
Absolutely. I agree with what you said as well. I think a lot of this karma in debt and all of that is a 3D program. And people really truly believe that, and they leave here thinking they got to keep doing it again. And that's breaking down too. So a lot of it's an illusion. A lot of our reality is an illusion. And part of the ascension is us finding our power source and not buying into that anymore. So this was a fantastic conversation with you both, and I'm really honored to be on this channel with you today. And thank you so much for coming on with me. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Awesome.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And just being your own true authenticity, being your own true selves, like trust yourselves intuitively, physically, inner, outer. Don't be afraid of what you're working in internally, the light and not so light. You're balancing that. That's part of the balance, the light and the shadow. The night of the soul doesn't have to stay dark. You just balance the shadows and the light. You balance yourself. You stay in your true frequency and who you are, your genuine self. Like as long as you trust yourself and don't doubt, don't let other people bring you down. Trust yourself to be you, who you truly are in creation and co-creating.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I really enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully you guys will come back on my channel at some point and we can continue it again. Until next time, everybody, thanks for joining. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, ladies. That was beautiful.